The British are an odd bunch of people that you may have heard of. You can tell a British person apart from a normal person just by looking at a few factors. 1. They usually drive on the wrong side of the road. I cannot tell if this is on purpose or not, but if you were to ask me, I just think they have no sense of direction. 2. They got teeth more crooked than your average American politician, which is very crooked if I must say. 3. They wear red coats. I don't know if this is an actual fact or not, but my 8th grade history teacher told me this. And lastly, they have funny accents. Now, although the British weren't the smartest people on the globe, seemingly selecting a random 95-year-old woman to be in charge of their military and peace treaties with other countries, who's approximately 30.48 centimeters into the grave, I'm not here to critique Britain's ideologies. Instead, my name is Sucks to Suck, your educational host for this evening, while we go through this new movie I made called What Britain Did in World War II, a family film. Now let us commence forth into the beginning of this terribly tragic war. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to late 1930s Britain. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and people drove in cars that looked like this. Fascinating, isn't it? Oh, and then a war started, which basically ruined everything. Throughout the years, Germany is the only country that has been proven to have mastered the art known as starting global conflicts between national superpowers. This is evident not only in them being the leading cause for World War I being started, but as well as being the only reason World War II happened in the first place. On September 1st, 1939, a racist dude with a mustache was the Führer of Germany's Nazi army. They invaded Poland to regain territory that Germany lost after World War I for being a bunch of jerks. This racist art school failure then decided to team up with Stalin, another kind of huge jerk that we might get into later. And in what seemed like an instant, Poland was completely invaded. The Allies didn't even have time to prepare for war, let alone go over to Poland and try to protect it. For Germany and Russia would also pose quite a threat. We did nothing, and by we, I mean the entire world. The French were doing what the French did best, sucking. And Britain did what Britain did best at the time, nothing. They just kept asking Germany to stop nicely, even though they had no intention of doing so. And that brings us to our next chapter, the invasion of Norway. Now there may be more significant events to talk about, but I think that the invasion of Norway should be at least mentioned. Norway was invaded by Germany on April 9th, 1940. The reason for this was pretty simple. Norway and its neighbor Sweden were the main suppliers for Germany's highly valuable resources such as iron, which created their tanks, their weaponry, and modes of transportation. The UK knew this quite well, so they planned ahead of time, asking nicely at first for Norway and Sweden to stop, but after quickly declining, they decided it was best to take matters into their own hands. A month prior to Germany's invasion of Norway, the Allies, or United Kingdom, decided to place mines on the Gulf of Norway. After sinking a singular German ship, Germany figured out what was going on and quickly dispatched troops into Norway, beginning the invasion. The United Kingdom, not wanting the Nazis to get the upper hand, quickly decided to dispatch troops to Norway. With the help of the French and local enlistments in Norway, the Allies put up a fight for 3 months until Norway was taken by Germany. For now, 10,262 Norwegians lost their lives alone in that 3-month time span, which was clear that the UK would have to be harder on Germany than they were before, enlisting the help of Winston Churchill, who's pretty much like the coolest British person to ever live. Which brings me to my last chapter. We're going to skip forward a couple years to one of the most tragic and deadly battles that has ever been fought in the history of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Normandy landings, aka D-Day, June 6, 1944. D-Day was notorious to be the largest seaborne invasion to ever be recorded. This single battle changing the entire tides of the war, giving the Allies the momentum they needed to push back the Axis powers. 10,000 men stormed the beaches of Normandy, fighting against a heavily armored fort with machine guns, multiple Germans, and artillery strikes. The battle being so grand, multiple movies have been made about it. Some accurately displaying the tragedies that happened to those poor men storming those beaches, others not so much. Britain lost approximately 2,700 British soldiers that day. America lost 6,603, with many others being injured. A grand total of 4,413 dead if you were to include the 946 Canadians that also fought in the battle. And we haven't even scratched the surface of the other Allied forces that fought. Now, what about this has anything to do with Britain? Well, because of this battle, the Allied forces had enough momentum to win the war, saving millions of lives and ending the destruction and reign of Hitler, officially putting the end of World War II on September 2nd, 1945. 6 years and 1 extra day, with a total of 75 million people dead, 40 million being civilians, 20 million being military. 450,000 of which were British soldiers and civilians. 70,000 buildings were demolished after German bomb squadrons dropped bombs onto London, killing 30,000 people, leaving $1.7 million worth of damages. If I were to describe the events of World War II through the British's eyes, it was most definitely a tragedy. Chamberlain wanted nothing more than just to have the war end peacefully. But due to the results of Germany's arrogance and unwillingness to comply, this happened. In conclusion, although us Americans might make fun of British people nowadays for their funny accents, weird way of driving, and personal hygiene issues, you have to give them credit where credit is due. They had bombing on their own turf and survived, had countless cities and buildings destroyed but rebuilt, and then still had the will to keep on fighting the good fight. My name is Such to Suck. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did. And yeah, see ya.